go to my dashboard for Signals Notebook. So from my dashboard here, I've already logged in, and I'm going to go to my in vitro study. Okay. Now, from my in vitro study here, what I'm looking at is my contents are on the side, and you see that I've got, an introduction. I've got a little, image. This is standard stuff that you might see in an experiment. But what you don't typically see is, okay, if I'm going to run this B43T1 assay, this is a cellular assay. What I've done is I've matched my plates with the compound that I'm using, the actual lot number, and with the well type. Now, this will make sense in just a moment when we go through, but I want to point out that this administrative defined table defines all of the compounds that are being used and associates them with a well type, okay? And that well type is now, I'm going to show you, the well type is describing what is actually in that plate. And so what I can do is I can define what is in the plate here in Signals Notebook by adding a plate map in the notebook itself, or in the experiment. And so the well type that I have defined, these positive controls, these compounds, what's nice is I don't actually have to define what is compound number 1, what is compound number 2, what is the standard compound number 1. It might be the same each time, but probably not. So you don't have to define that. You can say, I'm going to define the well type and then match those up at a later point in time. Now, I do, what's nice is I did actually put in the concentrations here, because I have some different concentrations going down the way. But I just want to point out that, while plates are relatively new, we have connected plates with Signals VitroVivo. Now, I put my data in here as well. These CSV files are the files from the actual machine. They're just CSV files putting, they're the exported raw data from those files, or from the instrument, excuse me. And then the biggest thing here is, okay, so now I have a Spotfire file. And from this Spotfire file, I can open up and start using Signals VitroVivo. And I'm actually, of course, I've already opened this up. And I do want to show from Signals VitroVivo, I'm not going to go into the details of what Signals VitroVivo does, but I'm just going to point out the connections here. So one of the connections is from the data source. So where am I getting this data from? So if I'm going to upload files, I can always upload files and use Signals VitroVivo on its own. But if we wanted to connect them with a Signals Notebook experiment, what we do is we say, okay, what is that URL? What is the Signals Notebook URL? And so I'm going to grab this and just copy it in. And then it will ask me to sign in. So it's establishing this connection between Signals VitroVivo and the notebook itself. So once I have established that connection, it automatically takes me back to Signals VitroVivo, and it's fetching the information from the experiments in the Signals Notebook. Now I'm just going to make sure I know, I know which experiment this is. It's the BioELN experiment. So I know that I'm supposed to go, now it's asking me to go to a specific notebook. So I'll go to that notebook and then to the experiment. And I got to remember where that experiment is, 1755, that's the one. So I can select the experiment. So now that I have that information, and it's knowing that it's from the notebook itself, we can then import the data from the Signals Notebook. Now, that's the great thing is you know, depending on the plate, depending on what I'm going to do, I've got all this information in here, so I can add in those files if I need to. I'll add those over here. And again, I'm not really showing you how Signals Vitro works. I'm just showing you these connections that we have. So now I've got all this data, and all that data has been imported in from the notebook itself. Another thing that we talked about was the plates. So I designed that plate in my Signals notebook, and from the plate, this gridded plate editor, I can actually open this up, and I want to use a Signals notebook plate. So when I use a Signals notebook plate, I can I'll do my well format here. I can gather that plate information from my Signals notebook and associate the compounds with the plate identification, and the same thing with the concentration as well. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about here is the editable data grid. This editable data grid is used to associate the compound number with the well type. And if you remember, and I'll go back to that particular table, this table associates the compound number with the well type. So what I'm going to do in Signals VitroVivo is, instead of creating a new grid or importing a new grid, I'm actually going to grab it from Signals notebook. And I'll say, okay, which table from the notebook, and I already know which experiment, and there's only one table in there, so I can click on that, and it will bring in all of that information for me. So that's on the in vitro side of things, of how you would connect Signals notebook with Signals VitroVivo, which is, again, it's really quite smooth. What it does too is it avoids the duplication. And I know, you know, being an ex-scientist, I know that duplicating things in different, you know, different documents in different areas is time consuming and wasteful. So let's not do that. Let's actually connect these pieces of software applications that will, you know, really help you with your work.